The rules for today's U.S. Senate candidate forum are: each candidate will have 20 minutes. We have a timekeeper here enforcing that. There will be no Q&A. This will be recorded for KADY TV. The order of the speakers is chosen by lot. And here is our first speaker.
Here is just somebody coughing most of the time. Anyways, I am Bob Larivee. My fellow Californians, I have spent the last 5 months traveling up and down this great state of ours, answering the question of who is Bob Larivee and how I'm going to lead the causes of California in the United States Senate. So who am I? I'm someone who should not be here. Why? Because I am not a celebrity. I am not rich, a professional politician, nor am I a political insider. I am one of the silent majority, a simple American who struggles with the battle of staying above the poverty line every day, sometimes dipping below it. A simple American who in 1979 entrusted his American dream to that American principle that all are created equal under the Constitution. Endowed by a creator with certain unalienable rights, of which the three of those several are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This I did when I cast my first vote for a man named Ronald Reagan. Now Mr. Reagan is gone. My American dream nearly as well. My wife and I wondered what American dream our 7 children and our 2 grandchildren will have. My wife is a probation corrections officer in juvenile hall. And she often wonders too what kind of future our children will have when she tells me about the different cases there. Will our children obtain that same American dream that we have? Will they have their American dream redefined? Or will it be something to be brushed over in a history class as something that once existed, or even be taught to them that it's just a myth? We have failed our children and in laying out that American dream, firstly by not laying a firm foundation of God, family, and country. God provides the moral foundation to do the right thing. And family provides our children the first form of government they've ever known, and also teaches them the moral responsibility to self and others. Country provides the opportunity to be free, independent, and live out responsibly that American dream and make it an American reality. Secondly, we have failed them by laying on them the burden of repaying debt, both from out of control spending and the void of moral character. I have asked many to define the American dream. With every person I ask, I get a different answer. Whether they be Democrat, Republican, some other party, or decline the state. They tell me the American dream is about owning property or obtaining wealth. Some saying being able to do whatever you can without consequence. You know, Bernie Sanders followers believe it's free stuff. And many others get answers beyond that and in between. We have lost our identity as a nation, as a state. But we can only define who we are as Americans if we know and understand the American dream. The American dream was first defined in 1931 by James Adams. He said the American dream is the ideal that every U.S. citizen should have an equal opportunity to achieve success and prosperity through hard work, determination, and initiative. Yet that definition still has something missing. The American dream did not begin on July 4, 1776, but the 56 and 76, signing their death warrant, the Declaration of Independence. It started with those who first came here to look for new economic opportunities, to improve their lives over poverty, but first and foremost, deliverance from religious persecution. Those first American folks we call Anglos. Ultimately, my friends, the American dream can be summed up in this one word: freedom. Freedom to have an equal opportunity to achieve success and prosperity through hard work, determination, and initiative with personal responsibility to conduct oneself in a moral, decent manner, respectful to others, and this without the impediment of others, and most of all, government. We have lost the American dream because we have lost sight and understanding of its meaning. If you grasp the loss of our sight and understanding of the American dream, you will know that as the American dream is lost, in contrast, government grows. I, as a Republican, know best of all that government has never been the solution to obtaining the American dream and making it the American reality. But government is the great impediment, the great obstacle to not just the dream becoming a reality, but even obtaining the dream. If we are to regain for ourselves, and most of all, make available to future generations the American dream, we must define what the American dream is. I mean, what an American is, and what is American. Let's start with what an American is. An American can be anyone, any color, any race, creed, age, sex, or ethnicity, or anything in between. An American is not concerned with these things, but an American is concerned with the content of their character. Without a moral, ethical, decent, and respectfulness to others, content of character, one cannot be and is not an American. Without the willingness to work hard, preserve, maintain, protect, and keep safe and sound, these ideals one cannot be and is not an American. Now that we have laid out these parameters for being an American, we can now define what is America. America is a nation with specific borders, made up of individuals that espouse and embrace tenaciously what it means to be an American. This is where we start to regain the status of identity as true American, by first securing our borders. We can do it efficiently, effectively, and inexpensively. And the next step is to securing our borders and identifying ourselves as a nation. It means enforcing the laws, enforcing E-Verify. This means supporting all of those overstayers of their visas. This means supporting all of those that are here illegally. Now I've heard it said it cannot be done, but it can. By first giving them opportunity to self-support themselves. And anyone who does so would be granted the opportunity to return to this country legally, just like those who are here legally. Those who refuse will be sought out, found, and deported, never to return again. Now there are those who say that this mode of thinking is uncompassionate, unloving, unkind, and un-American. Poppycock. It's nonsense. Let's put it in the perspective of the men and women who serve in the United States military. How many of them have been separated from their families, especially in time of war? If these illegals want to be Americans, this is a sacrifice that they can make. This is a way for them to demonstrate that they believe in the American rule of law, showing respect for all of those who wear the uniform of the United States military. Now we need to translate this simplicity and common sense thinking to our economy. A government that cannot repay its obligations cannot meet its obligations to true justice and liberty. We must control our spending. We must balance our budget. We must eradicate our debt and have a savings for a rainy day. If we are truly to be a government of, by, and for the people, we need to see government reflect these fiscal practices that everyday Americans have. Everyday Americans must control their spending. They must balance their budgets. To truly live free and prosperously, everyday Americans must eradicate their debt and save for a rainy day. 60 to 65% of Californians do not even have $500 in cash set aside for an emergency. We can start to put Americans on the track of prosperity by adopting this policy. If you earn it, you keep it. I support and believe that the fair tax and flat tax plans are great vehicles to allow this policy. However, we do not have time to wait for a 2/3 majority of Congress, which may never come. Americans need help now, not years from now. So I will introduce and support legislation that will give Americans tax breaks beginning in 2017. As your United States Senator, I will fight to eliminate taxes for seniors who are retired on fixed incomes below a certain level. I will fight to eliminate taxes for those who have served more than 20 years in the military or have seen combat. And I will fight property tax, which I believe is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. No level of government should have their hands in your primary residence. I can't tell you the number of people that I have come across in my lifetime that have paid off their homes only to see government come and take them because they can't afford the taxes or the fees. There is not only one U.S. Senate candidate who has signed a no new tax pledge. I too have committed myself to that pledge of no new taxes. And I have gone beyond that to sign a pledge of no new debt. I previously mentioned how we failed our children and laying out the American dream. Firstly, but not laying that foundation of God, family, and country. And by laying on them the burden of debt and the lack of moral character. Believing and speaking about God should never be allowed to be looked down on. Our own state constitution says in its preamble, we the people of the state of California, grateful to Almighty God for our freedom, in order to secure and perpetuate His blessings, to establish this Constitution. Government sponsorship of religion is not the same as government acknowledgement of God. Just as the eisegesis of the Constitution is not the same as its exegesis, you can draw out the acknowledgement of God from reading these documents. And you can read into it, you cannot read into it, that God has no role in their interpretations. Our nation was birthed with the idea that God exists in the minds and hearts of individuals apart from religion. That God intended that we have a place to exercise our inalienable rights only found in liberty and justice for all without regard to religion. If you believe that there should be laws against murder and thievery, then your moral foundation is found in the scriptures of the Bible. And it is this moral foundation that we should lay for our children at the earliest age in both our homes and in our schools. If we are ever to be truly united as a nation, folks, if we want to move this country forward, leaps and bounds, if we are ever to be on the same page, we need to be all on the pages of the Constitution. Our nation only will survive if the game politicians play is played by the rule book, the Constitution. If you have made the observation I have, then you notice how both Republicans and Democrats are as small children trying to play a game. They can't seem to follow the rules. And when they can't follow the rules, they start creating rules that benefit themselves and their parties instead of the people they're there to serve. When one reads into the Constitution, they can make it say anything they want. They can even make our constitutional republic a socialistic government. But if you are drawing out from the Constitution, then you will find one form of government, Republican, not democracy. Democracy allows the majority to take from the minority, but a Republican form of government protects the minority from the majority. That's why I bet that the Republican Party that I serve will return to its roots of serving, protecting the little guy, the minority, the small business, and those who seek to own a small portion of this great land. I mentioned those who are to be serving the American people first, but only serve themselves or a party. To be a servant is to put your life before others, willing to serve and put your life in harm's way. That's why I'm a proud member of Rotary International and our motto of service above self. Today, most politicians don't believe in this. They believe their life comes first, and they're willing to allow you to be expended. In order to restore our nation to the greatest of all time, we must return to the valuation of the first inalienable right mentioned in our Declaration of Freedom, life. We must do all we can to preserve and protect life, starting with the unborn, our children, then the veterans, our seniors, who hold a treasure trove of wisdom for future generations, and then the rest of us, by ensuring the right to bear arms found in the Second Amendment. On December 3rd, 2015, one day after the terror attack in San Bernardino, which was in my backyard, the governor said, quote, "Government will do all it can to protect you." Well, I say this, Governor Brown, what have you done since then? Have you removed gun-free zones from our state? Have you begun to repeal those laws that infringe on the citizens of California's Second Amendment rights? As your United States Senator, I will promote and support a foreign policy that protects Americans first, here at home and abroad. Such a foreign policy can only be supported by a strong military with the attitude of peace through strength. Those who do not clearly understand the past clearly distort today and clearly will hit a wall tomorrow. The clear understanding of the past allows us to clearly see today and have clear vision for tomorrow. If we look at the past, we clearly understand that many of the issues in elections are the same every cycle. But there is one issue that I have never seen addressed in my lifetime. This is the issue of integrity. I consider it the single most important issue that we overlook every election, and it should be the number one issue in this election. This is an issue that I have been criticized for, my integrity, my principles. It has been said that politics come before principles. I beg to differ. Principles will always dictate the effectiveness of policy. A principled individual's number one policy is integrity. Integrity is defined as what you do when no one is looking, something that 60 to 75% of Americans say those in government are lacking. For 160 plus years, Republicans and Democrats have steered the direction of our nation with their professional politicians and their political insiders, with the money of their special interest. It is obvious by now that neither party is suited for the job, together or alone. It is obvious that Abraham Lincoln was right. If under God this nation can have a new birth of freedom, we must be resolved to be Americans first, and Democrats and Republicans way beyond. We must be resolved that a government of, by, and for the people shall never perish from this earth. We have a choice, folks, to be the United States of Democrats, the United States of Republicans, the United States of two do-nothing parties, or the United States of death, or to be what we were created to be, the United States of America. I, Bob Larivee, want to represent that choice as your next United States Senator from California. A choice for integrity. Integrity nurtured and espoused in my years in the Boy Scouts of America, as a pastor, as someone currently in ministry, and as a member of the United States Air Force Auxiliary Civil Air Patrol, where I have served as a chaplain and a moral leadership officer. When I am called upon to talk to the squadron about integrity, I tell them that same thing. Integrity is defined as what you do when no one is looking. I offer myself to you for service, to restore this government to be a government of and by and for the people. Thank you.